Hi, and welcome. You're listening to the X22 Report. My name is Dave, and this is episode 1966B, and today's date is September 10th, 2019, and the title of the episode is Deep State Moves to Get Ahead of FISA Story, Big Fail, Messages Sent About a Bad Man. Now, before I get started, I wanted to talk about protecting yourself with all the common threats nowadays in America. One of the best things you can invest in for your home protection is a Patriot Brother flashlight. Patriot Brother wants to expend a special 15% Patriot discount to all customers. Never waste money on batteries again. The Patriot Brother X is solar powered. Life-saving emergency strobe light. Charge your phone anywhere, anytime with the USB port. Take advantage now and give you and your family the gift of night protection. Click the link below. Let's get into the economic collapse, political, and geopolitical news. Now, we are watching the total destruction of the deep state. They are now trying to get ahead of the FISA story, and that is a big fail. Comey right now is relaying messages to the deep state on how the deep state has changed the U.S., and was it enough? Let's take apart Comey's tweet here for a sec. He tweeted, in 1867, Frederick Douglass said, "Our government may at some time be in the hands of a bad man. We ought to have our government so shaped that even when in the hands of a bad man, we shall be safe. Did we shape it well enough? The test is underway." So, when we read this tweet, who is the bad man? Well, he's going to say it's Trump. Trump is the bad man. But is it, or was it, Obama? Remember, his United States Secret Service name was Renegade. Let's go back to post 3325, because Q told us that Hussein assigned himself Renegade as his code name. And we know that Renegade means someone who's changed allegiance, someone who's a betrayer, a deserter, a defector, a traitor. And Comey is out there, and he is saying, did we shape it well enough? Did we shape the country well enough? The test is underway. So they were trying to change America, and Comey is wondering, did they have enough time? And will the change stick? Will the change work against the Patriots? Because the Patriots are in control. And were they able to brainwash the majority of the American people to believe what they needed them to believe? And I don't believe that they were able to do this. I believe that there's a reason why Trump was elected. The people started to realize what was going on. And yes, in the last part of his little tweet here, it says the test is underway. And this is the test, right here, right now. And the deep state is losing. And remember, the bad man is not Trump. It is the renegade. It is Obama. The deep state, they're in trouble. More and more evidence is now being produced to show that the FBI was given evidence or had evidence in the Hillary Clinton email, Uranium One, Benghazi scandals. Paul Sperry from Real Clear Investigations breaks it down. In February 2018, Representative Jim Jordan joined Fox and Friends and revealed shadowy Clinton figure Sidney Blumenthal, who was involved in the Benghazi scandal and appears to have been a key source for dossier author Christopher Steele. The names that we keep hearing are Sidney Blumenthal and Cody Shearer, people who have been around the Clintons as being a part of this. But I also think it's kind of interesting because what it looks like is they paid Steele to put together the dossier and told him what to put in, Jordan said, talking about rigging the game and putting together a document that will serve your purpose as an opposition research document. That is what the Clinton team did, and when you see names like Sidney Blumenthal coming up, we deposed this guy during the Benghazi hearing, Jordan continued. He has been with the Clintons forever, He was knee-deep in the whole Libya-Benghazi story, particularly the story where they weren't square with the American people about what was the actual catalyst of the attack, and they tried to blame it on a video. And we know that's completely fake, phony, and false. But now there is more to the story. Recently made public FBI records reveal that the agency virtually ignored evidence from private GOP-backed sources about a scheme in which Hillary Clinton associates tried to exploit her position as Secretary of State in order to profit from the 2011 turmoil in Libya she helped to create. The documents provided to the FBI in June 2016, as the agency was kicking its Trump-Russia investigation into high gear, alleged that Clinton confidant Sidney Blumenthal sent her a series of detailed memos and reports about Libya, which was intended as a quid pro quo, which might help a post-Gaddafi Libya recover as much as $66 billion in offshore funds hidden by the slain strongmen. Now, according to the private investigators funded by Judicial Watch, our evidence shows that Mr. Blumenthal was involved with a group of intelligence professionals seeking to repatriate assets which were plundered and then exfiltrated by the Gaddafi family and hidden in various offshore localities. Now, if they were successful, Blumenthal and others stood to gain a broker's cut of perhaps hundreds of millions of dollars. The documents are labeled by the FBI as having been received on June 6, 2016, a month before the first of Comey's 2 exonerations of Hillary Clinton before the 2016 election. This was roughly 7 weeks before the FBI opened the counterintelligence probe of the Trump campaign based on nothing. Paul Sperry tweeted out the following: breaking. Sid Blumenthal and Kobe Shearer were on a quest to find the plunder Gaddafi's gold after Hillary Clinton boasted of killing Gaddafi and as they were exchanging Libyan intelligence with Clinton at the State Department. Yet, the FBI never investigated possible quid pro quo. Unbelievable. But again, it is all falling apart. And more information, more evidence is coming out. And they can't stop it. Remember, the Patriots are in control. They know everything. They have everything. And the deep state, the mainstream media, they know what is coming. They know the facts are going to be presented, which will destroy their narrative. And they're trying to get ahead of the story, but it's backfiring on them. CNN, NBC, the New York Times, they've written about the same thing, but those stories kind of contradict each other. And the White House is now saying that these stories are void of real facts, that these stories are fake. Now, this is coming out of the Epoch Times. CNN on September 9th reported that in a previously undisclosed secret mission in 2017, the United States successfully extracted from Russia one of its highest-level covert sources inside the Russian government. CNN wrote that the knowledge of the Russian covert source's existence was highly restricted within the U.S. government and intelligence agencies, and that according to one source, there was no equal alternative inside the Russian government, providing both insight and information on Putin. The article alleged that the decision to remove highly placed mole from within the Kremlin was driven in large part by concerns that Trump and those within his administration had mishandled classified intelligence, thereby compromising the source's safety. The supposed classified information that CNN accused Trump of mishandling during the meeting with Lavrov and Kislyak appears almost identical to what has been publicly reported by CNN over a month previously in April of 2017. Article titled, "New Terrorist Laptop Bombs May Evade Airport Security," Intel sources say. The fact that CNN had previously reported on this supposed classified information, the alleged mishandling of which formed the basis of CNN's reasoning behind the Russian source's extraction, was not mentioned in CNN's September 9th article. NBC News outs the source's general location. On the same day that CNN put out the article, NBC's news reporter disclosed that he had personally gone to the Russian source's home on September 9th. His reporting also confirmed the general location of the source's whereabouts. The New York Times refutes key points of the CNN article. So right there, they're contradicting each other. Now, Department of Justice investigator John Durham intended to talk with at least one senior counterintelligence official and a senior CIA analyst. The newspaper reported that both of these officials were involved in the agency's work on understanding the Russian campaign to sabotage the election in 2016. Attorney General Bill Barr reportedly wanted to know about the CIA sources who helped inform its understanding of the details of the Russian interference campaign, and to better understand the intelligence that flowed from the CIA to the FBI in the summer of 2016. Now, the CIA has formally denied the CNN article with Brittany Bramell, the CIA's Director of Public Affairs, telling CNN that misguided speculation that the president's handling of our nation's most sensitive intelligence, which he has access to each and every day, drove an alleged exfiltration operation, is inaccurate. The White House press secretary, Stephanie Grisham, told CNN that its reporting is not only incorrect, but also has the potential to put lives in danger. Now, Brian Cates, he's looking at the whole situation and all these stories and other information, and all of a sudden he had this epiphany and he started to put everything together. And he tweeted out the following. Oh, wait, stop everything. It just hit me. This could be the source for much of the Trump-Russia stuff that ended up in the Steele dossier. They know Horowitz's report is going to reveal who this person is. Remember, Fusion GPS's Glenn Simpson told Bruce Orr the source for much of Steele's Trump-Russia information is a former Russian intelligence officer who now lives inside the U.S. John Solomon had a source who showed him what were called Bruce Orr's notes from the meeting with Simpson. We now know these were actually FD-302 forms filled out by the FBI Special Agent Joseph Pienka, and he debriefed Orr following his meeting with the Simpson and Steele. Here's Solomon's report from last year where he discussed what a source showed him. Solomon calls them Orr's handwritten notes, yet Simpson allegedly acknowledged that most of the information Fusion GPS and British intelligence operative Christopher Steele developed did not come from sources inside Moscow. Much of the collection about the Trump campaign ties to Russia comes from a former Russian intelligence officer who lives in the U.S. or scribbled in his notes. There likely was no CIA extraction of a mole inside the Russian government in 2015. If it's the former Russian intel officer living in the U.S., then this person was already living here in 2015. And now it hits me. What the DNC media is doing right now is setting up the revelation of a Russian asset, a source that is being burned to get out ahead of Horowitz's report. The FBI may not have put any effort whatsoever into trying to learn who Steele's Russian source were for the fake dossier, but I'm willing to bet Horowitz, the IG investigation on this case, Huber and Durham, were very interested in where this evidence proffered in those FISA warrants actually came from. Got that? Horowitz didn't spend last year and a half just following the money trail and who paid for the dossier. He's been tracking down Steele's sources for his Trump-Russia allegations. Remember, this fake Steele dossier stuff was used as evidence in FISA investigations. That should never have happened, and the OIG have been digging into this trying to find out where this stuff came from. Comey, McCabe, Strzok, the record shows there was no real attempt to verify any of the Steele dossier Trump-Russia allegations. They spent all their time pumping up MI6 spy Christopher Steele, this almost godlike paragon of the intelligence field. Why did they do that? Because it was misdirection. They needed to sell the FISC on Steele's awesome reputation so the court wouldn't look too closely at Steele's shadowy anonymous Russian sources and start asking how much of this crap the FBI managed to verify. So why did they need to put this story out? I do believe that Horowitz was able to track it all down. This is why they're panicking. He found the sources for the fake dossier. And this is why they're trying to get ahead of the story. But it's a big fail. Paul Sperry tweeted out the following. It's now abundantly clear Obama State Department officials Victoria Nuland, Jonathan Winter, and Kathleen Kavalek had outsized roles in the Spygate scandal ought to be added to the Senate witness list. Question is, will Senator Risch and Johnson subpoena them to testify? And as you can see, as we move forward and as more evidence comes out, everything's starting to click together. Think about what those individuals like Horowitz, Huber, Durham, think about what they have. Think about their investigation. We're getting bits and pieces. They have it all. They have already put this together, and they're going to produce it. Think about that. Now, Technofog has been following the Flynn case, and Technofog tweeted out the following because there's been some updates to the Flynn hearing. And Technofog says, we have the transcript from today's Flynn's hearing. From Sidney Powell, there have been stunning failures to produce Brady in this case. The DOJ sat on page-struck text for months in violation of the court's discovery order. So when you look at this, already we can see there are problems in this case. And Sidney Powell is showing that, listen, we have a problem with them not handing over certain information. They've been sitting on page-struck. Their text messages. This was in violation. Looks like we're getting closer and closer to Flynn going free. Now, very interestingly, with the Epstein case, the FBI is investigating Epstein's death, which now includes reports that Epstein was taken to a different part of the prison before MCC officials made a 9/11 call to the New York Fire Department. Epstein may have been returned to his cell in a wheelchair shortly before the 9/11 call was made. There were reports he was in a wheelchair and slumped over, coming back to his cell after approximately 5 a.m. And this is coming from a federal law enforcement source. MCC officials called 9/11 at approximately 6:40 a.m. The question is, was Epstein unconscious at the time or even alive? And now it's becoming clear why the cameras malfunctioned and there's no videotape, because they would have shown him being wheeled back into the cell, slumped over, and that wouldn't have looked too good. That would have been a problem. And now we know why the cameras malfunction. Now, very interestingly, we just had Hurricane Dorian move up into the U.S., up the coast. It did a little bit of damage, but not that much. In the Bahamas, certain areas did get hit pretty hard. But Trump, as he was leaving for North Carolina, he was talking to the press, and he said something very interesting. And he warned that we need to be very careful because there are bad people in the Bahamas who may try to flee into the U.S., and we need to have paperwork. And he's saying that there's gang members and others that are in Bahamas who are hiding out, and they might try to enter the United States. Now, of course, he just doesn't say these things. There's a reason why he says it. And the question is, who's in the Bahamas hiding out? Think about that for a second. And will this hurricane force them out into the light? Very interesting. Also, we've come to find out, and this is coming out of Breaking 911, 2 former FEMA officials, including one of the agency's top administrators, have been arrested on federal fraud and bribery charges in connection with their work in Puerto Rico since Hurricane Maria hit the island in 2017. It looks like Trump has been right about Puerto Rico. Certain government officials in Puerto Rico have been arrested for taking the funds. We see 2 former FEMA officials being arrested that had to do with something with Hurricane Maria. And we can see that there is definitely corruption going on with Puerto Rico. And this is why there's been so much funds transferred over and nobody can tell where it all went. So once again, he is right. Now, as we know, the elections are coming up in 2020, and the mainstream media is doing what they do best. They're using polls to try to convince people that nobody is voting for Trump. They did this back in 2016 and it completely failed. And people are catching on. Trump tweeted out the following. One of the greatest and most powerful weapons used by the fake and corrupt news media is the phony polling information they put out. Many of these polls are fixed or worked in such a way that a certain candidate will look good or bad. Internal polling looks great, the best ever. ABC Washington Post poll was the worst and most inaccurate poll of any taken prior to the 2016 election. When my lawyers protested, they took a 12-point down and brought it to almost even by election day. It was a fake poll by two very bad and dangerous media outlets. Sad. And he's absolutely right, and they're doing the same thing once again. They're trying to convince the people that if we have these polls and they show that Trump is not in the lead and people aren't voting, they're hoping the sheep will follow along. This is their strategy. Now, we talked about Trump's tax returns, and he withheld them on purpose. Remember, there is no law whatsoever that he has to hand them over. Even though the deep state is continually trying to push and trying to get them, so far they have failed. Drove the deep state crazy. They need him, they want him, they have to have him. There's something in there. They're telling the people all of this, just like there was Russian collusion and obstruction. But what's very interesting, and we said this in the past, I do believe Trump is completely setting them up. And we're getting this from BNL News. This is a tweet. Breaking. President Trump says that he will release a report detailing his financial holdings before the 2020 election, saying that the report will be extremely complete. And I do believe this is all a setup to make the deep state crazy. Remember, all of this that Trump and the Patriots are doing, it's going against the grain. Just because they did it to show that everyone's on the up and up, which we know they're not, they used it to make people believe this, but in the background they had foundations and other things going on, which didn't reflect in their tax returns, but they used that to make everyone feel like, yes, see, we're on the up and up, we're not criminals, we're doing everything okay. Trump went against the grain to call all of them out. And this is why Q posted, what happens if each and every one of these people and their family members were audited every 1 to 2 years? There's a reason for this. This is being set up. Now, very interestingly, remember when the San Francisco and the Board of Supervisors, they decided to declare the NRA as a domestic terrorist organization? Well, the National Rifle Association is now suing the city and county of San Francisco and the San Francisco Board of Supervisors for declaring it a domestic terrorist organization. And this is what the NRA argued. Regrettably, this court, too, must step in to instruct elected officials that freedom of speech means you cannot silence or punish those with whom you disagree. They went on to say, therefore, the resolution's terrorist designation is a frivolous insult, but San Francisco actions pose a non-frivolous constitutional threat. And they're saying that the First and the 14th Amendment rights, they're being violated by San Francisco and the San Francisco Board of Supervisors for declaring them as a domestic terrorist organization. And we'll have to see how this all plays out. And I do believe the NRA has the upper hand on this one. And we'll have to watch how this all plays out. Now, we have always known that Trump keeps people in positions for specific reasons. And once he doesn't need them anymore, he gets rid of them. Think about this for a second. We mentioned this many, many times before. And when everyone said, oh, look at Bolton. Bolton's a neocon. This is going to be no good. We're going to go to war with Iran. We're going to go to war with Venezuela. Bolton's going to lead us into war. No, this is not why Bolton was there. Bolton was there for optics. Trump puts these people into these positions to keep the mainstream media, the deep state, very, very busy. While they're off following Bolton, thinking that, yes, this is exactly what we want to happen, Trump is doing something. Not just Trump himself, but Trump and the Patriots, they're doing something completely different. They're working out deals that Bolton and those other individuals have no knowledge of. They're keeping the cover story out there, while in the background, the real work is being done. And Trump decided to fire Bolton. He tweeted out the following. I informed John Bolton last night that his services are no longer needed at the White House. I disagreed strongly with many of his suggestions, and as did others in the administration, and therefore I asked John for his resignation. which was given to me this morning. I thank John very much for his service and will be naming a new national security advisor next week. Now, Bolton is out there and saying, hey, wait a minute. I offered to resign last night, and President Trump said, let's talk about it tomorrow. And once again, it doesn't matter at this point if Trump fired him or resigned, or he said I was going to resign, and then Trump said wait, which I believe Trump's version more so than Bolton, because Bolton is a liar. We know that Trump kept him there on purpose. The question is, why is he letting him go now? Does that mean something has been completed? Because when we go back in time and we look at McMaster's, who was there during North Korea, who was saying that we're going to invade, Trump got rid of McMaster's, and what did we have? We had a peace deal with North Korea. So the question is, why now? Why remove Bolton, the warmonger? We know he leaks information. We know he tried to have regime change in Venezuela and Iran. That was his dream. What has changed? He's been there for quite a while. Do you think the deal with Iran is now complete and Trump doesn't need Bolton anymore? I believe that is what happened. And I do believe that Trump has full control now and doesn't need Bolton out there for optics, just like he didn't need McMaster's anymore. And Paul Sperry tweeted out the following: developing, former Trump National Security aide Fred Fleets meets with the president in the Oval Office and takes a photo with him on the same day he fires National Security Advisor John Bolton. So we need to watch Fred, because he might be filling this position. Now, very interestingly, Trump is out there and he is putting out an app, a social media app for Trump's reelection. So Trump's reelection campaign plans to launch a smartphone app this fall to encourage supporters to donate, volunteer, and reel in like-minded voters, all while providing the president more unfiltered access to his followers. Supporters who download the all-in-one app are expected to be able to sign up for Make America Great Again rally, canvass a neighborhood, or call voters, maybe even register to vote, as the campaign looks to turn passive supporters into activists. Now, think about this for a second. By creating this app, Trump is bypassing social media platforms, bypassing the mainstream media, and going directly to the people. And this reminds me of something very interesting. This brings us back to post 2793. And this says, countermeasures in place. Example, think emergency alert system. Think White House controlled new RT News website. Think White House controlled new video stream platform. Think here. Should this occur, immediate steps will be taken to classify each as a public utility, essential public services to gain appropriate government regulation. Why do we make things public? So is Trump setting the stage for all of this? Because they know when we get closer and closer to the 2020 election that the deep state might try something, and they have all of these things in place to talk to the people. They have the emergency alert system, they'll have the app system, and the RT News website and the video stream platform we don't know about yet. But everything should be transparent and public. And once again, we can see the attorneys general, they are going after the big tech companies. And we can see that things are about to change. The deep state is struggling right now. Everything that they've tried is a big fail. The impeachment is going to go nowhere. Nadler is going to lose his mind. Comey, he is stressing over what is happening here. And they're hoping everything they've done holds in place, which it will not. From that tweet, it tells us that he is panicking and he's worried. And we know that all the other information that's coming out about FISA and how they're trying to get ahead of the story, it is not working. They're being shut down at every turn. And the truth is about to come out. We're seeing bits and pieces. Wait until Horowitz, Durham, Huber, Barr produce the evidence. It's going to be overwhelming. And I still believe that they're going to drip feed this out to the public to make the deep state players feel the pain. And each time it will get worse and worse and worse. And if you really think about it, truth, transparency, this is going to bring down the house. Listen, everyone, thanks a lot for listening. Be well, be safe, and especially be prepared. Thanks a lot.